Hey, this is Sandy.
And Randy.
And we're here on AT Corner.
Being an athlete trainer comes with ups and downs, and we're here to showcase it all.
Join us as we share our world in sports medicine.
Welcome back to another episode of AT Corner. So we have mentioned multiple times, athlete training is about being
adaptable.
Yes. So this week's episode is going to focus on the reason athlete training is adaptable, and that's just change in general.
Honestly, yeah.
Yeah. I think that's the driving force on why we have to be adaptable is just change.
Do you like change?
Not really.
Did you know that most people who answered our poll do not like change?
I would not be surprised by that.
So I did ask on our...
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I asked on our Instagram story is... The very first question I asked this week was, do you like change? And 65% of people said most of the time no.
I feel like that would be like what I would expect. I feel like most people would probably gravitate towards not liking change compared to enjoying change.
I would say most people like or do not like change, but I kind of expected it to be higher than 65%.
Honestly, yeah. To see the 35 liking change, I feel like that was kind of higher than what I would expect.
I think it gets boring without change.
And we don't like boring.
Like, I think change is exciting.
Well, change is also necessary.
Right.
Times.
Like, if you don't have change, you get too complacent. You're in your comfort zone.
That's fair.
Okay, so that leads into one of the next questions I asked. Have you ever had a change at work you were dreading, but it ended up being much better than you anticipated?
That's a good question.
65, I don't know why the 65-35 split was the thing this time.
Oh, man.
65% of people said yes. It was much better than I anticipated.
I feel like I don't know if I've had anything that was much better, but I've had things that it wasn't as bad as what it kind of probably was going to be, or like what it was viewed as being.
But I think that's the thing. I think when we think of change, a lot of it is like fear and our mindset and our thoughts.
True. Yeah, I think so. I'm trying to think of like a context. Like, yeah, a lot of times it just wasn't as bad. I mean, there were also the ones that were like, hey, this is going to be bad, and it was bad. But no, there's been stuff that it hasn't been as bad. Like, okay, like that's survivable.
Yeah, I think it also depends. Like, obviously, if you have something that's working, then change is scary because you're like, this is working.
Yeah.
What if it gets worse?
That's what they say. If it's not broke, don't fix it.
Exactly.
That's what they say. But that doesn't mean it can't be maintained.
I feel like this happens a lot, like when you get a new administrator.
Yeah.
Like, even if you have a good new administrator, I feel like just the anticipation of what they're going to crack down on is kind of scary.
Yeah, and it's just, it's that unknown. You don't know. You don't know. You just don't know how they're going to be about certain things, their philosophy, and I think it kind of goes back to the idea of like when you're trying to buy a car or determine when you're like, should I get a car or not? Mm-hmm. Like your car, like, you know the problems. Right. You know what to do. You know what's been going on. You know how to handle it. Mm-hmm. But then, like, if you get a different car, like, you don't know. You could do as much research as you can, but until you get it, you just don't know. So it's kind of like
the unknown is scary.
Yeah.
Our first story is from Anonymous. They said, we changed how we did treatments to appointments using Sign Up Genius, and it was wonderful. Most kids complied with the change quickly. Those that were lazy learned really quickly that they weren't getting treated without an appointment. Well, my kids at least. My boss just used it as we'll see if we can fit you in, and most of the time disregarded it. It was a great system when used correctly. My kids liked it too because we only allowed 6 appointment slots. I was always really clear with my kids that if they saw 2 teammates already signed up for that time, don't bother because I will not be running around like a chicken with my head cut off. One-off circumstances were different, but for the most part, they were really good about it.
That's good. I see. That's especially post-COVID or like during COVID.
I've seen a lot of appointment changes.
Yeah. And I feel like
people moving to appointments.
I feel like it's great from our standpoint because it does help you out a lot.
Mm-hmm.
instead of just mass chaos. You can really kind of lock in on certain people. But I think that is the hard part, is like everyone's got to be on the same page when implementing it.
Mm-hmm.
And if there's any like weaknesses in that, like it could make it a very difficult system to try and implement.
Right.
But yeah, I've been lucky enough to be in that system, and it was nice. It's nice to know who's coming in that day, what you can focus on, and also too, like if you don't have any appointments, if you're in a position where like, hey, I can cut my day a little short, that's kind of nice too.
Honestly, I think the transition from no appointments to appointments can be like there is a big hurdle.
Yeah.
There, because you have the learning curve of everyone having to figure out how to sign up, or like just expecting a walk-in, or forgetting that they have to sign up.
Yeah.
Or like getting the coaches on board.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And I think too, a lot of it is, again, getting the kids on board, because a lot of them too, if they're not used to like making appointments, like it might be a little bit, even though like it's not like we make it hard. And it's like you're calling somebody, like it's probably like an app or something like that, which they're always on their phone anyways.
I know.
And they're good with apps. But like, I don't know, it's like, it's weird because you're asking someone who's probably for the most part, maybe hasn't necessarily had to do a lot of appointments, like maybe mom and dad helped a lot with that. And now you're telling them, hey, you need to make this appointment, even though this is probably the easiest appointment they'll make. I think that is kind of hard. And again, it does depend on too where they came from. Like if they haven't come from an appointment-based system, that might seem super foreign to them. And then they're like, oh, well, I'm used to just walking on in.
I've actually had it, two places I've been where we had an appointment system and we changed to no appointment system.
I mean, I think right now where I'm at, I'm actually okay not having an appointment system. Like, I think like how the days kind of spread out, it's not, I don't feel like it's as chaotic to where I'm like, we need an appointment system. Right. So I feel kind of comfortable with that, even though I still think it would be beneficial. But I think I don't know. I haven't felt the need to be like, we need to change this.
I feel like when it works really well. And,
yes.
And when it doesn't, like it doesn't, like I
There's
think
no
it just
gray.
depends on your setting. But like I think more like the change from or to, like, could you imagine changing to an appointment system right now with your kids?
No. No. I think overall it would be difficult, but I know there would be the handful that would get it pretty quick and could get it done appropriately. I still think my majority would probably have a hard time with it. Right. And then it would just end up me doing just the same thing. and now you get the ones that are like, well, I made an appointment. So I think, to answer that question, it would be difficult. Yeah.
Another big change that a lot of people have dealt with is adding another athletic trainer to their staff.
Ooh, that's fun. That's always fun.
57% of people said yes, they have added another athletic trainer to their staff. 43% said no. But I also asked about changing roles at your job, because that's a big one. Like,
it is.
You could be assistant athletic trainer changing to associate athletic trainer, or you could be an athletic trainer changing to the head athletic trainer, or you could be an athletic trainer with lacrosse now working with track, or whatever, like now you're taking on insurance duties, or there are so many different roles, or even like more admin responsibilities. Or
I mean that's a big change.
67% of people said they have changed roles at their job.
Nice. I hope for all good reasons, like all like moving up, or like doing something you wanted to do, as opposed to being like, this is terrible, I gotta get out of this. Right.
This first one from Anonymous says, I'm currently in a float role where I'm full-time, but I float between 2 high schools. So we have 1.5 ATs at each school. It's new here, so lots of change. You think of the average high school AT, they're working with 1 AT to 300 to 500 athletes. And in our location, they keep adding sport coverage.
Of course.
It's not safe, and it makes it hard to have work-life balance. I was hired a few years ago, and it has been interesting to help burned out, overworked, might I respectfully add, prideful ATs understand how to work with someone else.
Yeah.
We've been trying to incorporate 1.5 at each school, and while it's been received well, I've noticed that as ATs, the pride of my teams, my tape, my treatment, etc., rather than let's work as a team. It's a great transition. I think it helps us as healthcare providers be more mature and understand that it's about the athlete getting the care they need and never about us.
Yeah. I think that's true.
I think it's so easy to put the focus on us.
Yeah. And I think
like we're always with ourselves. So like this is like what you know, right?
Yeah.
And especially you don't really have another perspective until someone kind of points it out.
Yeah. And I do agree. I think like if you have like definitely a bunch of professionals that are probably used to being by themselves, they've gotten used to a system and they've made that system work for them. And then you throw maybe another person in, now your system's kind of like, well, we're like, I don't know where it fits anymore. And it's like, we're doing fine. I don't see why I need, like, even though we always see why we need more staff, but I could see like
right.
that kind of pride thing of like, oh, well, I really like doing this, or like stuff like that. Or like, man, I really like this team kind of thing.
Right.
Or connect with this team.
I did ask if this was a, like, almost like the district forcing this additional role, or if this was like the ATs asking. And they said, help's always asked for, which like makes sense. Like,
yeah.
And I think that's the thing is like, I think sometimes we ask for things, but don't actually realize the implications of that.
Yeah.
And then realize that we have to go through this like uncomfortable change period.
Yeah.
Right. That like we asked for this. Now I have to like figure out how to make it work. It's not just magically going to be perfect.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think this too, like, I don't know anything about the school, these teams, like, I don't know anything about this situation, but I could see how, like, one full-time being there all the time is probably, like, in their control. They're like, this is everything that, like, I do, right?
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden this secondary person coming in doesn't feel like it's like equal weight.
I was just going to say, like, let's take this on the flip side. Like, it's also not easy on the person that's coming in, because now it just feels like they can't do anything, because it's like, oh, well, everyone's going to this person, or,
right.
It's a weird transition, because like when you bring someone in new, like there has to be a give from the people that are there to make it an easier transition for the person that is new and coming in, because like, I don't know, it's like really hard for just someone to voluntarily be like, hey, I've been working with you. I've really liked working with you. Oh, someone's new here that's allegedly like covering my team. Oh, I'm just going to go to them. Right. So it does take a little bit of a give from the people that are there to hopefully help make that transition a little bit better.
Right. I mean, I've also been seeing this with, especially like in our setting, we're both in the community college. And even like both Randy and my schools each have 3 athletic trainers, but they previously, both of them had 2 athletic trainers. And a lot of community colleges down here are transitioning to 3 athletic trainers, depending on how many sports.
Yeah.
So you're really seeing like these addition of new positions. Yeah. And then you're seeing all these colleges that have to find, even though like these colleges need more athletic trainers. Yeah. Like we definitely need more than 3 athletic trainers. Yes. But the transition of trying to figure out how to make a 3rd or a 4th or whatever position, and how it's always been done, right? That's really the comfort zone. This is how it's always been done.
As that statement is just it. That one's just, it's tough to hear the statement when you're trying to progress things.
Right. But then now all these schools are adding another position, and it's like, well, like you want the help, but how are you going to divvy that up so that 3rd role is actually really needed?
Yeah.
I mean,
for sure.
It's needed, but how are you going to find space for this role?
Yeah. I think too, you got to remember, like, what if that was you?
Mm-hmm.
You know, what if you were put in that position, right? You wouldn't like that. You wouldn't like feeling like, oh, well, I'm literally twiddling thumbs, right? Or like people aren't going to me, or like I don't have this communication with someone, right? Like you wouldn't like that either, you know? So that's why like, you know, there should be that kind of give also to help with that transition.
Mm-hmm. I think too, it is really helpful when people kind of lean into the change.
Yeah.
And kind of like are willing to weather the back and forth, I guess, and the hard parts. They know it's temporary. I think that's
growing pains.
Right.
We all had them when we were kids.
But it's much more comfortable when you don't have to do that.
Of course. It's true. But then growth's, I don't want to say doesn't happen. It's just maybe slower or minimal.
Yeah, it's different.
It's different.
Maddie S says, we added 1 AT in addition to cutting 6 sports.
I mean, okay, first of all, that's nice that they were able to still add an AT in an environment where sports were cut. Because anytime you start talking about cutting sports, you feel like, oh, well, we're probably not adding a staff member because we're trying to save costs. So, I mean, it sucks for the sports that were cut because those are jobs. It affects the kids.
Absolutely.
But it's good to see, like, from a business side of things from that school, that the funding was still there to add a staff member, even though there were sports cut. Because that does get scary. When sports start getting cut, you're like, oh, no. What's going to happen to my staff now?
Well, so I figured, I was like, wow, I need to know more about this because I have never heard of that position ever. Like, I've never heard of people cutting sports and adding ATs.
Yeah. I mean, at the same time, that's, like I said, like if the school's in an environment to cut sports, like they're usually not going to be like, yeah, we're going to, let's add more staff too while we're at it.
Right.
So that is a unique kind of experience.
So Maddie said, we used to have 3 sport assignments and now we each have 2, 1 travel sport and 1 non-travel. It's made a world of a difference. I feel like I actually have time to focus on my 2 teams versus struggling to come up for air and give everyone what they need. That third team just puts you over the edge on workload and it was not manageable or sustainable. I got our admin to do an audit on the department. The audit guy wrote up a whole report on things we had to do as a department to function at industry standards. The NCAA will soon mandate audits. They didn't used to be mandatory, which is crazy.
That is crazy. NCAA is usually pretty organized on that.
And that encouraged admin to do it because they would be ahead of the game.
Oh, that's good to hear.
Mm-hmm. My coworker and I wrote up a whole report on why we need an additional AT. It showed that we were functioning at the lowest capacity compared to everyone in our conference. It actually showed that we needed to hire an additional 2 to 3 ATs to make even. And at the same time, the NCAA made a rule that you can pay for 2 assistant coaches instead of 1. This was going to become expected across all sports. So in order to meet all of those demands at once, they cut 6 sports, meaning we only needed to hire 1 AT to make our ratio equal, and turned each sports volunteer coach role into a paid position.
Oh, interesting. That's pretty interesting.
So this is like a prime example of when deficits are identified, but then there's actually something done about it.
Yeah.
Instead of just saying, oh, well, you got to make it work.
I just love how the admin was all aboard on the, hey, we'll be ahead of the game. Because too often it's easy for, like, depending on, like, levels, like, hey, this is what's coming down the pipe. Like, we're going to have to do this, to just be like, oh, well, we will deal with that when it comes.
Right.
So that's pretty cool to hear. Admin was very open to being like, hey, yeah, let's get ahead of this. Let's get used to this kind of system. Getting used to the change.
Hey.
That's cool. That's awesome.
Be the change.
Be the change. Be the ball.
Well, I think it also helps, like, when you're last in the conference. Like, I think it...
Oh, anytime you get to do that and say, yeah, see,
like,
look,
we're the
look
only
at all
one.
look at the other schools.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that sucks to be in that position, but...
Look at the other schools, gosh. Because anytime you go back to athletics, well, you don't want to be last.
Nah, that's losing.
Yeah, either you got to be better than them or just let's just do the same thing everybody's doing.
Right. Have you ever had construction at your workplace that changed your EAP?
Not really.
Really? Ever?
Yeah, actually. Yeah.
That
I don't
is
think I've ever been in a place where we've had construction affect our EAP.
That is really funny because I've had it multiple times.
Yeah, no,
at multiple locations. And
Honestly,
62% of people said yes. Oh, we almost had another 65-35 split. It was 62%, 38.
Missed opportunity.
Yeah. So one time I was actually giving an EAP talk. Like we had one of the local MSAT programs come over and they were doing for their emergencies class. They were coming over and they were talking about the EAP. I think I was supposed to give them an EAP example and talk about like one of our fields. And then I took them to some other fields and then they would ask me questions and then they had to write an EAP for those things. And so I wasn't supposed to give them any information except for whatever they asked me so that they could write the EAP for that.
Nice.
Yeah, really cool assignment. They, and I was walking, cause Pam, who was teaching that class, she asked me to give her the examples of the EAPs. And then that morning I got an email that one of our roads was going to be closed because of construction. And so then I was like, okay, so here's a prime example of what you have to be careful of, because now I have to alter this EAP and it just happened this morning that like they're changing this road. And so like that was a perfect example for them. Change. Being an AT is about being adaptable. But then also we had a lot of construction near our football field. And so then we had to figure out like an entrance because they were working off where our primary EAP access was. Yeah. So we had to figure out how to get around that.
Interesting. That's pretty cool.
Because people were still practicing on the field.
Of course.
Yeah.
Sports don't stop.
Yeah. I thought this it was perfect to add this story from Matt E, who works in construction.
Oh, okay.
You want to read this one?
Yes. Matt says, working as an industrial AT, change happens frequently. LOL. I work in construction. I'm on a site that builds data centers from the ground up. So EAP things that change early in a project are how the EMS team would access the site, as well as get around once on the site. My site has an east and west entrance now, but earlier it used to only be one open at a time, and they go back and forth on which one.
Oh, great.
Yeah, that's just what is it today, huh? On top of that, certain roads going around the site would be closed or blocked off depending on excavations, active cranes, etc. Then also, if an employee is hurt on an upper level or the roof, we communicate with local EMS on how they would be recovered. Oh, what a word. Recovered. Some of my coworkers, we usually have 5 across the whole campus every day, have coordinated with the local fire department to have them come walk the campus and assess or even reach out directly to the training center as they're familiar with the capabilities. That's interesting. That's a lot of change frequently. That's really interesting because, yeah, I guess like if you're in construction, they're building things, so it's constantly changing.
And you definitely have to have an EAP for that.
Yeah, for sure. And always wear your hard hat. Hard hat area.
One time I accidentally walked into a hard hat area.
Without a hard hat?
Well, actually, that's what clued me in. I saw everyone else wearing hard hats, and I was like, I don't think I'm supposed to be here. But the gates were open because basically this is so not athletic training talk, but off topic. I was like walking and there was a gate that said do not enter hard hat area, but it was open to let in a big truck. And so like the big truck went in and like I'm supposed to be going down this street. But the gates were completely open.
Yeah.
So I didn't see the sign that said like do not enter hard hat area.
Yeah.
And so then like I like walked in and I was like, that doesn't look like a through street. Like I don't think I can get through that. Like that looks like construction. So then I turned around and then I see the gate that's open that says like do not enter hard hat area. And I was like, oh, well.
Speaking of construction, so when I was a volunteer student, they were doing some major construction at where I was at. Like they closed off a section, like there was an athletic trainer like, hey, this one's really not going to be used anymore going forward because they were going to be doing construction. And they were building a new stadium. So naturally things have to be torn down. We got to like redo ground. We're moving earth basically. Right. So they have these like giant earth movers, like basically going in a loop. Right.
Okay.
So naturally there's one individual at the construction that saves everybody's life, and it's the dude with the stop slow sign.
Yes.
Right. So we got waved to go, and we're going. But again, like, so where we were driving in this golf cart, so it's me and another volunteer student, and I'm in the passenger seat. So I'm not in control of this situation.
Oh, no.
So obviously there has to be a road big enough for the earth movers to go. So where we're going, we have to go past that road and then continue on our merry way. No. The person who is driving decided, I'm going to go on the on the track that has the earth movers that, are ginormous, that aren't going to stop really quickly and are probably going to be pretty pissed off if they had to. So we start to go, I'm like, no. So we had to like put in reverse. Literally an earth mover's coming at this point, and luckily we got out of the situation, but I could have died.
Thank you for not dying.
Yeah. That was wild.
I've never heard that story before.
I forgot about that story, but the construction made me think of it.
That's really funny.
Yeah. That was a wild time.
There's also like, now this is just making me think of like all the change we've had at work. Like even from having one golf cart to two golf carts, or one golf cart to no golf, or like to two golf carts to one golf cart, like going down a golf cart. Or like having two ice machines to one ice machine.
Or to none.
And you have to adapt to like the things that just pop out of nowhere.
Yeah. Oh yeah. You know what? I do have that a lot. My ice machine always breaks.
Yeah.
So I have been down to no ice machines before.
Yeah.
It sucks. Oh, another change moment is when my lights were out in my clinic.
Oh, I remember that.
They were out for a few weeks.
They were, yeah.
But okay, so like normally I'd just be like, okay, I'll go work in the other office. But this is when I was new, and I was trying to get my gym athletic training room, like people to go there.
Right.
So
you're trying to get established.
Exactly. So I sucked it up and sat there in the dark.
Did you treat people in the dark, or?
As best I could.
You were like in the middle of the building. How did you manage that?
I mean, there was light from the hallway, and there was like one like safety light in there too. So there like.
It was mood.
It wasn't like
light.
Yeah, it wasn't like, it was just dim, right? So it wasn't like pitch black. Like I could see.
Okay.
Yeah. Well,
your locker rooms were pitch black.
Yeah. The team rooms were pitch black for the team, so that was and then the men's restroom was too.
And so was a football locker room when we traveled there.
Yeah, it was. It was.
Okay, so Mason B says, our main elevator was being replaced for 8 months, which changed all of our EAPs.
Ooh.
Especially if a stretcher is needed.
Interesting.
The entrance is on the 2nd floor. The gym is on the 1st floor. Athletic training room's on the 3rd floor.
What? Holy smokes.
Auxiliary courts, indoor tennis courts, and weight room are all on the 4th floor.
What is this facility? This is intense.
I know. We do have a freight elevator, but it's tucked away in a corner and not many people have keys.
Of course not.
So if the EAP was activated, when I would usually go tell someone to hold the elevator for EMS, they either wouldn't know where the freight elevator was or they wouldn't have access to it. So EAP adjustments had to be made.
That's great. What is this facility? This is crazy.
I don't know, but I did my observation hours and a clinical site in a basement athletic training room.
That's crazy too.
And there was like a set of stairs, and then there was also an elevator, and the elevator broke. So it was so temperamental.
That sucks.
And it was so easy to break. Like I still remember, like if you push the cart, like you know how the elevator like door has like, I don't know if you know this, but like how it has like two parts to the door.
Yeah.
There's like the inside door,
and the outside,
and then the outside door.
Yeah.
And so like if you are pushing the cart and the elevator door decides to like close, like the whatever door it's like touching will like not open.
That sucks.
So then the door separates, like the inside door from the outside door.
Yeah.
And then like you have to go call campus safety to get people to come fix it because like you touched the door with the cart. It would happen so often.
We in the gym we had one that would do that. Like this was when I was a student and I was working event staff. So like when I'd help set up for like the basketball games. And like we kept like the really nice courtside chairs. Yeah, we had courtside at this 1950s gym. We had the really nice ones stored upstairs, but we had to get them to the first floor to court level.
Okay.
So naturally the elevator is the fastest way to do that instead of lugging these heavy chairs because they're nice chairs. So they're a little heavy downstairs. And if you started going up and down too much, this bad boy would just stop. And so like it was almost something like that. Like if the doors were closing and it hit the cart and had to reopen, like they just wouldn't close again. And the elevator would be just shut down and it would sit there with the doors open.
Do you know how many times I would show up and the elevator would just be sitting open? Like that's how ours was.
That's pretty funny. So if
I'm like, I guess we're not using the elevator today.
I would say when I walked in, I'd say the elevator's broken. Not using that today. That's funny.
Oh gosh. Could you imagine not having an elevator and they call EMS to the 4th floor? Like that would suck for EMS.
Yeah, you're going to have to lug that bad boy all the way up.
Mm-hmm.
I hope they lift. I hope they lifted.
Actually, we were thinking about that for our football EAP. Technically there could be 4 entrances because there are 4 gates, but only 2 of them are fire gates. And the other 2, one of them has a very, like just a normal doorway gate. And then a sharp turn to a, like 2 steps. And so it's like, okay, that would be difficult with a stretcher. But the other one is just a doorway gate. Okay. So, the stretcher could go through that, but like just the stretcher.
Yeah.
Do you want to read this one from Christina S?
Yes, Christina says, I just dealt with the lock to my door of my office being changed, and they wouldn't give me a key and wanted me to use my ID access, but I didn't have that either. Took me over a week, lots of emails, texts, and phone calls to finally get it. I cried, LOL. It was so frustrating. I did end up getting access after a 30-minute phone call with the director of IT and him being like, try it now. Try it now. Try it now. That's a bummer. Not being able to get into your office is...
this is... I don't know if this is getting more popular around anyone else, but like I feel like I've been seeing more and more ID card access. Like my school is not, we're so far away from that, I think, but
you can't hack in your lock system.
But my last school, we had hard keys and we also had ID keys, like I think because they were trying to transition over, and the like little card, like they would like it automatically locks so that you can't use the card after 10 p.m. and on holidays.
I think that's dumb.
And I'm like, you know how often I'm here after 10 p.m.? And do you know how often I'm here on a holiday?
Yeah.
And I think weekends.
Yeah.
So I was like,
make it make sense.
Yeah, very frustrating. Also like the bathroom. I'm like, I need to get in the bathroom.
I need to pee.
Yeah. So change.
Yeah, changing locks and not giving the things you need is crazy.
Oh my goodness.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So I can just imagine how frustrating this is because just like I remember.
Yeah.
Have you ever had to temporarily move out of your athletic training facility?
Yes.
When?
So when I was grad assistant, they were we had to remove asbestos.
Oh, we have a story about that.
Oh, not yes. Yes, again, 1950s gym. So naturally it was lined with asbestos. Don't worry. I also did my undergrad there, so I was spending years within the asbestos before we decided, oh, there's asbestos
I
here.
think you were there for like a decade with the asbestos, weren't you?
Oh, yeah.
Love that.
They didn't change that until my last year as a GA.
Yeah.
But yeah, so literally, I don't know how beneficial it actually was. So like our athletic training room was right next to the athletic training like classroom.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So it was actually if you take away the wet area in the athletic training room, I'm pretty sure this space, the classroom was bigger than our current athletic training room. So
honestly, I never thought about that, but actually, yeah, that lab was pretty big.
It was a bit like if you take out, because obviously it was a lab, like it was a classroom, so all the tables were treatment tables. So there was like a ton of treatment tables. You take that all out and set it up for like an athletic training room. It was actually very spacious. It was actually kind of nice.
Yeah, actually, yeah.
Yeah. A part of us did kick around the idea, like, what?
Just switch, like.
No. Take over both, knock down one of the walls that join the two.
Oh, yeah.
And make that our full athletic training room.
Yeah, why don't they do that?
That idea was kicked around. It probably sounded expensive and they didn't do it.
Taking down a wall?
Yeah.
Some places do that.
You're right. Some places do, but not ones that are super budget conscious.
Apparently, our athletic training room used to have a wall.
Oh yeah, that's right.
It used to be part. It used to be part of the men's locker room.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, not the athletic training room, but now, like, we took a chunk of the men's locker room to be.
That's nice.
Part of our.
Yeah. That's cool.
ATR. Yep.
That's dope.
I've heard lots of stories.
I'm sure.
Okay, so this one, I never shared these results, I guess. 42% of people said they did have to temporarily move out of their athletic training facility. 58% said no.
Interesting.
I don't think that I have for COVID.
Oh, yeah. You're right.
We made 3 facilities instead of out of 2. Oh, no, we made 4. We added, there was a yoga studio that
I remember that.
we added. And then there were portable classrooms that we added.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about that one.
Mm-hmm.
I forgot about that one.
Catherine G. said, we had to change locations for a VP debate in 2018.
That's crazy.
Nightmare fuel.
Oh, I bet.
It was D1 mid-major college.
Oh, mid-major life.
The debate was within our gym, so clearance had to be done for the whole building. We were displaced for 6 months, through the end of September when the debate was. Luckily, they moved for us, but we moved a lot. Treatment tables, Chattanooga machines, rehab equipment. There was business space, a former hair salon, by the way, downtown that was vacant, so we were moved there. Small college town, so it was still somewhat convenient for the students to get to.
That's funny.
Location wasn't too bad because we had a really good outdoor access, and a lot of our fields weren't near the AT room anyways. But basketball practices were in so many weird locations.
I bet.
The best and most dangerous part was that we had a Moe's Mexican food restaurant right next door.
Oh, that's nice.
And through all that, when the debate happened, Mike Pence didn't even say our school name right.
That one stings. that one that one stings. That's a bummer.
So I actually, she had just said Moe's, and I didn't know what Moe's was.
Oh, really? I guess it's not really a West Coast thing.
No, I'd never heard of it before.
Yeah.
But I imagine like being next to a Mexican food restaurant all day long. Like I would probably have chips and salsa every single day, probably like twice a day.
It does get dangerous when there's good stuff around you. I remember the last place I worked, we literally had a Starbucks like a 2-minute walk. That was, we had Starbucks a lot.
Don't you have one on the way to work now?
Yeah, but it's not a convenient on the way to work. Like this one, like I could literally step out, walk to it, and be back quickly. Whereas this one, like I can't walk to it quickly because it's like half a block down. It's too much work to get in the car, wait at lights, go through the drive-thru. It's just, I mean, luckily there's stuff on campus, but I don't know. It was a different magic when you could just walk to the Starbucks.
Our students love to walk to Starbucks.
I bet.
So we have one on campus.
Yeah. See, yeah, we have like our campus stuff that serves like Starbucks stuff. So like
Mhm.
I do like that better because, support the school.
I think I don't really drink too much coffee or tea, but
Yeah.
I like the smaller places.
Yeah. I feel that. That's why I'd rather support the school at least. Give the money to the school.
I never thought about that. Do you want to read this asbestos one?
Oh, yes. I have experience with that. So this one's a gem from Jen. Well, you want to hear about change, and you mentioned moving ATRs. I got one for you. So I was the first AT that my school had ever hired.
Talk about change.
I know, that's a big change. The whole thing took about 3 weeks, and it was obvious that they weren't super prepared. For the first semester, I had an office on the second floor of my building, and my ATR consisted of a giant food service ice machine, a Whirlpool, older than me, and a taping table that was in a room the size of a large closet. That's very interesting. I was hired in the spring, so over the summer, my AD decided to take part of the men's locker room, knock out a wall, and double the size of my room. Hey.
Yeah, that's basically what happened to ours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Instant improvements. My very first AT room was born. It had 2 doors, which was pretty convenient, 2 taping tables, a treatment table, some storage, my desk, and a bookcase. That was my home for the next 8 years.
Wow.
Then came 2009 and our major building campaign. I was disappointed to learn I wasn't going to be getting space in the new building, but was going to get a space that was going to be renovated just across the hall that was probably 5 times what my old space was.
Holy crap.
Constant improvements.
Wow.
However, the road to get there came with a few twists and turns. First twist, I had to completely vacate my current space because of asbestos abatement and initial construction. Yay. I had to move my entire life for a semester and a half to a spot across the building. We had no water. So,
oh, no.
Yeah, so every day was a trip to the cafeteria to fill up ice chests and coolers for the day.
That's also like you can't wash your hands.
No. The other fun part was that I shared the room with the elevator electrical room.
Oh, no.
So every time I went up and down, you could hear it, and it was loud. The second twist. Summer break came, and no one really thought to tell me what was going to happen during summer or even if I'd be able to get into my new space before preseason. Preseason rolls around. I start the first part in my old space. About halfway through, the foreman comes to tell me that my new space is ready, and did I want to come see it? Well, of course I do. It was big. The floor wasn't what I wanted because, why ask me?
Dude, I feel like this is so common.
Yes. And the colors were weird. We're forest green and white. The tile work was more like a sage green. But
okay, I love sage green, but like not on any sort of furniture or buildings or any like when we moved into our house, like our shower was like sage
weird.
green, and it was like really disgusting.
Yeah, that's gross.
Yeah.
But it was my room. All mine. My joy was short-lived when I went back to look at the wet room, which the foreman obviously hadn't seen. Judging by the words that came out of his mouth, it looked like a drunk toddler had done the majority of the tile work on the floor and the walls. The floor sloped toward a corner of the room with no drain.
Oh, love that.
The slope continued along the wall, down the small corridor that ran along the outside of my office, and into the body of the ATR where the floor was rubber. It was even more amazing when the architect showed up the next day. The man was a redhead, and his face turned redder than his hair when he saw the quote-unquote work that had been done.
Oh, no. Poor guy.
I worked for the fall semester with the wonky wet room floor, and they fixed it over Christmas break. Now, 14 years later, the room has gone through some small changes. Things added, subtracted, rearranged. I love my room. I think there's only going to be one more major change to the space before it changes ownership and I retire. My boss wants a permanent cold tub in there, so that's my project for now.
Change.
See, okay, so the permanent cold tub, like, that's cool. Like the jacuzzi style, that's cool. But like, I mean, I probably still would rather have that than like the silver ones. But like, dude, cleaning those things is a bear.
Do you have to drain it?
Yeah. I mean, so
I've never had one.
So,
You've
like,
had you have one now, right?
no, we do, but not in my facility, so I don't have to deal with it that often. It's not like the metal ones where you're like you clean it regularly.
Mm-hmm.
Like these ones are pretty good because again, it's like a jacuzzi, right? So it's pretty good. Like if you keep the chemicals right, like it stays pretty clean most of the time. But you still have to like at least once a month or so, like actually scrub this thing and like clean it.
Right. Or you should.
You should. Right. And I'm sure like it probably depends on like the style, what chemicals. Like I'm sure there might be some that you probably have to do a little bit more often than a month. But like it's a jacuzzi style, right? Like, it's basically a jacuzzi. So it's like you have to drain this thing, this huge sucker. But like it's not like all the water's out so you can clean it. So then you have to like get like buckets and stuff and get the last little bit of water. But don't worry. Don't worry. Not all the water's out. So now you got to get like a sponge to soak up the little bit of water and like squeeze that out.
Why does it not like drain very well?
Because there's so many like crevices and like it's not like there's like literally just one drain that's not like at the lowest point. So then it's like,
who made this?
It's a bad system. So then you spend hours cleaning this thing, your body hurts, and then you have to do it again like in a couple weeks.
Well, I mean, your body hurts, you just fill it back up and then now you have a jacuzzi.
Yeah, but if it's going to be a cold tub.
Well, that might help too.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, so safe to say, they look cool and they are nice, but it's just like, I'm done. I'm not cleaning it. Someone else can clean it. So
this reminded me, I don't know how I forgot. I think I've said this in the podcast before, but not at my current job, but there's at one of my previous jobs, there our sink, I don't know what was like, we had like this wet room. Not really a wet room, a wet area.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's more like a wet section.
A wet hallway.
Yeah,
it was a hallway
within the room.
It was really weird. There was like two like random walls that were like 6 foot walls. Like if you were taller than 6 feet, like you could see over this wall, and they were just like maybe like 6 feet tall, like by like 5 feet wide.
Yeah, like
they were like just a big block of wall, and there were like 3 of them.
Yeah, there were 3.
I don't know why our room was split.
There were 2 openings.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. It was weird. And then there's like, you walk past this wall and there's a big sink. But the sink, if you run the water for too long or if you dump anything in the sink, it floods the floor. And not only does it flood the floor, like the flood goes straight to our desks. And want to know how I know that? Because I've been warned multiple times that it does that.
That's pretty funny.
But where are you going to dump the cooler? You're going to dump it in the sink where the drain is, right?
Yeah. No.
Yeah. Well, no. So yes, then a towel mountain was needed to be made.
That's pretty funny.
There were multiple times this almost happened.
I was gonna say I feel like the students for sure, because like there's just so many of them, and then like constant flow of different students, like
right.
That, you know, I could see that being just an accidental problem.
Right. Also, the ice machine broke, like not the actual ice machine, but the lid broke and the lid fell off.
I remember that.
And like fell on top of my foot.
Yeah, I remember that.
And it hurt so bad. Like it was making me limp.
Yeah.
I'm sure I bruised my bone.
Probably.
And it was like right when I was meeting one of my future students. And like I didn't know they were there, and then like they walked in and I'm like cussing and like I like limping all over the place. I'm like, "Oh, hi. Sorry. I just dropped the ice bin lid on my foot."
That's all.
Have you ever had an ice machine bin like hit you in the head?
Yeah, but not like that bad. I've had it like the door accidentally just drop, but I haven't, like, I don't know. It hasn't been super notable.
That's good.
I've been in an ice machine.
You have been in
multiple times actually to clean it, so it's now I occasionally give that joy to the students because that's what I do.
I have never been inside an ice machine to clean it.
Once you're in, it's actually pretty roomy.
That's good to know. I'll leave that to you.
Yeah. Oh, I'm not doing it anymore. Like I said, students can do that.
Nothing is beneath you.
I've done it.
So?
I did it.
So?
I did it. I've been there. It's not like I'm giving them something that I haven't done. Okay,
so action item. I know this is a story episode and not an education episode, but tell us how you deal with change in your job. I have some, I took some gems that okay. You want to hear some?
Yes.
Some of my favorites are control what you can and figure out how to deal with the rest.
Oh, that's good. I like that.
Mm-hmm. Embrace changes as a way to grow or learn something new.
I like it.
Roll with punches instead of trying to fight them.
That's a good one.
Honestly, like, I think just like try it. Like, try it first and then you can have your reservations and
then you can fight it.
Right.
If it needs to be fought.
One of my favorites, personally, that someone also submitted, know that nothing is permanent.
Yeah, that's true.
This is temporary. This is temporary. This is temporary.
Yeah.
You can get through anything.
Yeah, true.
Control what you can. Oh, I already read that one. Personnel changes are the perfect time to set new expectations, rules, or boundaries that need changing.
I like that. Yeah, that is the perfect time.
And I'll leave you with this one. If there is a way to be more involved in the change, do it. It can make the transition easier.
Yeah, for sure.
Overall, being an AT is about being adaptable.
100%.
I'm surprised we didn't say that like 8 times this episode. I think we only said it like 3.
Yeah. Well, I started the episode with it.
You did. That's my catchphrase.
It is. I borrowed it.
You can have it.
No, thanks.
You have any other like change? Anything? I think change keeps us fresh.
Yeah. I mean, I changed my room right now a lot because it is a newer room.
Mm-hmm.
So like I change the vibe of the room to see what, as I get new things too, to see what works better. So I've been doing that a lot. Yeah. Like, okay, I'm done with this over here now. I think it needs to go somewhere else. It'll be better.
Yeah, tell us what you guys think of change in our Facebook group, facebook.com/group/ATcornerpodcast. If you guys are new, we do lots of different types of episodes. We do story episodes like this one. I believe next week we are also doing a story episode, so stay tuned on our Instagram stories for that. We have interviews, which we haven't done in a while, but maybe we'll start bringing those back. And then we do education episodes where, and actually a lot of those are CU episodes.
Yep.
So those, Randy takes research articles and digests them, and we talk about them in a conversational format. And our partner, Athletic Training Chat, and our partner, Clinically Pressed, turn them into CEUs. So we are so grateful for that. If you're interested, again, head to the show notes. Email us at atcorners@gmail.com. Everything else, fine print down below. I think that's all I got.
Perfect. Thank you for helping us showcase athletic training behind the tape. Bye.